Tour.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Lisa and Robin are two fun friends diving deep into conversations where nothing is taboo. They believe in eating dessert before dinner and wearing the bikini. They're allergic to labels, authority, and cheap shoes. Currently, they're launching themselves through life being the good time, bold enough to take risks and inquisitively asking, what's next? They hail from New Hampshire, but they could be anywhere dressed in cute clothes. If they had to share a tombstone, it would read, "Curiosity killed these cats." Your hosts, Lisa and Robin on the mic.
Welcome back to the second hour of Lisa and Robin on the mic. You were listening on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live, YouTube Live, as well as Spotify. And sometimes I think what's going to be written on my tombstone is, or at least my epithet is, she was unfortunately mauled by the animal she was trying to save.
Bless her heart.
Bless her heart. She was trying so hard. But that cougar really wasn't in a position to be saved.
She's only doing 5 for stealing a neighbor's pet. It was unleashed. How did I know?
How did I know? Well, I could have almost been arrested because in real estate, you go and show property. And we went into this apartment building, and the realtor told me that the people had been evicted, but the landlord hadn't come to clean out the things yet. And they give 7 days. In the state of New Hampshire, your landlord has to keep your things for 7 days. And we were at the 7-day mark, and we walk in, and a kitten comes careening out from underneath the bed and then sees us and goes running right back underneath the bed. And I'm like, we got to do something with this kitten. And she's like, that's still the tenant's property. I'm like, it's a living thing. So at the time, she was like, it's not our problem. The landlord would deal with it. I go to meet my husband for dinner, and I'm like, I can't even sit through dinner. He's like, go, So I tell her, I know the lockbox code. I'm going to take the kitten. And she goes, okay, if you get arrested, okay. I will. I'm like, okay. And I did. I went and took the kitten to the shelter, and I named her Gina. And I went back the following week to check on her because they said she was so dehydrated. Oh. And so what I did was I went to the store, I got food, I brought food and water back and fed her there. And then once she got fed and ate and drank a little bit of water, I took her to the Manchester Humane Society because the apartment was in Manchester. And I'm like, I'm going to get arrested. I'm going to have a mugshot because, of this at some point.
I feel like if you move out and you leave your cat behind, you don't.
For 7 days?
You don't believe that cat. You don't
So
get
the
that cat
kitten
back.
was
I would not be worried about getting arrested.
So the
Possession's 9/10 of the law.
So the kitten was only like 8 or 9 weeks old, and to have already been left for a week, that was a big deal. So they said it had some heart problems, but they think it was just the dehydration because the cat was so dehydrated. But they think it was going to outgrow that. So I go to check on the cat, and I'm like, I'm here to see Gina. And they're like, Gina's been adopted.
Oh, yay. Yay.
So
That's a great story.
It was a great story, but. So, yeah, I'm going to be arrested. If I'm arrested, be like, oh, something happened with an animal. She's
definitely animal related.
It's definitely animal related. So I wanted to.
Trying to bring a baby sea lion home.
Right. You can't take those home. I have a bathtub.
I did. Years ago, I did take a conch home. And we killed it, but I feel bad for killing it. But we did eat it. So we talked to the guy. Yeah, we were down in Turks and Caicos. And literally, the big conchs, there was like this little strip of seaweed. And once you could get it, they like to bed down in those beds. So the guys were snorkeling, and they come up with these 2 huge conchs. I probably could pull it up. So we decided to cook it, but the guy on the beach, he's which is cool, the place where we were in Turks, he has horses that, he rents out for like horseback riding on the beach at sunset and blah, blah, blah. But every morning you get up and have your coffee, and he would let his horses run down the beach, just wild. It was just pristine. There's not a lot of tourism right there. And we stayed in more of a residential area. A friend of ours.
That must have been really cool because I don't associate horses with beaches.
Yeah. And they're wild. They're wild horses that he's tamed over the year. And I'm like, how'd they become wild? I don't know. I'm like, somebody had to ship them over here.
Right.
unless it was really, really low when they swam from somewhere. But anyway, I just take you at your word, buddy.
Yeah.
They're wild. They're wild. Anyway, so he was telling us.
He's like, I don't feed them, so they're wild.
He was telling us because he was out gathering his horse, and he said, if you pith them, a lot of times like animals and stuff, you'll see holes in the top of a conch shell. It's where they've penetrated the shell, and then the animals suck it out, but it releases that suction that they have on that membrane. So anyway, long story.
Long story, conch.
What was I talking about, conchs? Oh yeah, I was like, I'm taking this bad boy home, but even leaving it out for days after I've boiled it, they stink. So I'm like, oh God, I don't want to go through customs like this, but I'm taking it home. Had it in like 6 Ziploc bags, and
your luggage had to be thrown away after that.
Yes. Shoot, I was gonna say we have that photo album on Facebook, but I can't get there.
Yeah. So we're still having the drama with Facebook. It really has turned us quite off from Facebook, unfortunately, that we can't. Someone has abducted Robin's page and is committing fraud with it, like literally taking credit card stuff. They did stuff on Facebook Marketplace.
Now they
where they
even
took a credit
tagged
card.
Tom Keenan in a post of saying that.
Yeah, they're tagging other
I
people.
just bought him, I just helped them buy something with
crypto and stuff. And it's been weeks, maybe 5 weeks now. And Facebook still
February
can't.
4th. It's been a month.
It's been a month. Yep. So we're still a little heartbroken on that. I'm going to ask you a question.
Yes.
So we're talking about unlived lives.
Okay.
What do you think about unlived lives? What are your thoughts?
Getting old and not living your best life is one of the saddest things that you actively choose. That's what I think about unlived life.
So there is a therapist who believes that if you have an unlived life inside of you and you're not working towards that in any way, shape, or form, that is where depression starts, which I can totally see. And I think one of the hardest things is for people to gain clarity about what they even want. How do you even know what you really want? Because we are conditioned by society. We are obliterated with advertising. Do you really want a new car?
Right.
Do you really want it?
Do you really want McDonald's at 10 o'clock at night?
Probably.
Well, I mean,
Those
yes.
fries, maybe.
Yes.
But only but if I see it.
And
only
a cherry pie.
Right. Like we were watching something and I thought, oh my goodness, I can't believe how many ads there are for Kentucky Fried Chicken, Wendy's, and one other thing. And I thought, wow, how much money they make on a 99-cent hamburger that they have this many millions of dollars to put this much ads out there.
Yeah.
And just that subliminal messaging constantly. So do we even, and if you were to give yourself, I mean, there's some people not on social media at all.
We are so conditioned to receive subliminal messaging,
And I think of, how many times do you have a response, or have you ever had this thought where you respond and you think, do I even really think that? Or is that just something that you say during that time?
I didn't. I think I always took things at face value. Like I always believed, I didn't question enough. I always just took things at face value. This person's saying that's going to be for my benefit. I think because I got a lot of frustration growing up. My dad would get frustrated at me because when he would say no to something like a kid's sleepovers or, for something silly, he'd always say no, but I'd never have a reason why. And it was not settling inside of me because I couldn't think of a good reason. And your brain, you're trying to develop a thought process at the same time. And I'm like,
make good decisions. So should I be going to the sleepover is also a question that should be in that filter.
So I do feel like I was lost a little bit. Like I didn't have guidance. I don't understand why you said yes. Even though, I mean, yes, when somebody says yes, then it's automatically, it's instant gratification because then you don't think about anything else. So it's that resistance that makes you think, I think, that makes you pause. And then I'm thought about, well, what do I really believe in? Like, especially when you're young and growing up, your political alignment is usually what your parents, is usually how your parents voted. Then I start asking the questions, do I really believe that? Like, do I really feel that way? And I think even having kids or having the influence over young people made me question, like, what advice am I giving? What am I really putting out there? And I really just try to get my kids to just explore who they are, what they wanted to do more.
And sometimes I even think about something that I've said over and over again because it may have been true at the time, but now does not apply.
Yes.
And the thing about words are they're powerful. Our thoughts are powerful. But not all of them need to be, not all of my thoughts need to be listened to. Half of the time, I'm just telling some story because it's the story I always tell. I talk to myself in stories a lot.
Yes. Me too.
And it's probably the part of me that thinks I have to be a writer. It's because there's a part of me, pontificating in story form in my head.
You would be the poet in the king's court.
Yes. What is she saying now?
I'd be the jester.
Well, she's telling some allegory about something. But I do speak in story in my head. And so sometimes I'm like, is that even really a story? Like, all right, back up. What story are you telling now? Like, I've even had to say that to myself.
I do that.
And then, so I think it's always good to, everything is always fresh. Everything is always a new opportunity to either see things differently or do things differently. And why I was saying, try that experiment of holding the door open for people. Try the experiment of saying good morning, acknowledging people. Hi, how are you? You could say there's no benefit to it. But if over time you started having better interactions with people, wouldn't your days be better by default?
So I saved something, and I don't want it to be banned because we playing it. So I'm going to read it. It says, negative people ruin your life. There was a study that was done in 2006 called the Bad Apple Effect. Everybody knows that. Where you took 5 people and you randomly added a negative person to some of these groups to see how the effect of the groups while working on tasks. I'm trying to read it really fast. Now I got to go back. While working on tasks with one negative person, they did 40% worse on all other tasks. The quality of their work decreased by 25%. They also found that the groups with a negative person had 50% more conflicts, which led to more disagreements, less collaboration, and the crazy part, though, these sessions were only 30 to 60 minutes long.
Right, so imagine your whole entire life, 24 hours a day, in that mode.
Right. But think about if you've been around somebody your whole life in a negative mode, you have a lot to unpack. You have a lot to overcome. You have a lot to let go. And we have to get to a point and say, that's not mine to carry. That was never mine to carry. And lay it down and looking for, like, we exist until we have a pattern interrupt or until somebody smacks us on the forehead with that information. Like, we are choosing every single day, every single minute. We are choosing our reality,
unless we are on autopilot and we're not choosing it at all.
But you are choosing.
By being on autopilot,
yes.
You're choosing. Yes.
Because resistance hits you. What I'm learning is, like, resistance hits you every single time in some different ways, whether it's stress on a job, whether it's a bad altercation, whether it's trouble getting your car started, whether it's envy that you see in somebody else. Like, all of these different things are keeping us, because I do believe I'll have to find out where I wrote it. All of these things are keeping us. So Stephen Pressfield says that most of us have 2 lives, the one that we are living and the one that lives inside of us. Between the 2 stands resistance. We ignore the calls of the heart. And why do we sacrifice our true potential? Because if we feel like we're doing that, and it says, like he was saying this morning, it's like the more that when you criticize someone, I'll have to pull it up so I can get it accurate.
And while you're talking about that, I will talk about if you have some piece of yourself that you feel like, I'm not really expressing this in some way. There's like 100 different ways that you can go about expressing it. I think of people who love adventure. Getting a motorcycle, a boat, a snowmobile, taking flying lessons, hiking in woods. Like, there are so many ways to hear the call of nature. Camping outside. There's a million different ways to answer a call to, like, I'm feeling restless, or I'm feeling and I think there's something about not communing with nature enough. I think and that's why I kind of like the idea of connecting on a monthly, doing a vision board. Like, what would I like the next year to look at? That's 12 lunar cycles. That's 12 chances for me to start and complete smaller cycles. Because one of the problems I personally face in having long-term goals is that there's time to do it tomorrow. Why I work so well under tight deadlines is something has to be done today. So if you give someone a deadline that says in 6 months you have to do something, they will wait until 5 months and 15 days in a hot flash and panic and either blow the deadline, not do it at all because there's not enough time that needs to be physically work done in there. So the idea that you are taking things into more manageable chunks and doing them in 4-week cycles makes progression and movement forward. And I think as the flowers for me is a way to connect to nature. And animals, we went to PRG, which I hope I'm saying that right, which is the rug store that's down by City Hall. And they are, I'm going to make sure that I'm saying it right. Yeah, PRG in Nashua. Wonderful people in there. We were in there, and they know so much about rugs. You didn't think there's that much to know about rugs. And when I'm helping a fellow radio show host work on some commercial space, and one of the things I said was that I never choose the paint color first. I get an idea. But the rug, which is this, consider a rug as the artwork.
Yeah.
And because that has really tall ceilings, I think you really need to anchor the space down with something. Think of it as like beautiful art on your floor. And if we picked the wall color and then we found this perfect rug, but it wasn't the right wall color, we would either not pick the perfect rug because we'd have to repaint the walls.
Yes.
But it's an odd scenario, but it's the order of things matters sometimes.
Yes.
But I went into PRG, and they had a dog there. And I thought, I will go into any business where there is an animal there because it connects me with nature and something that normally work doesn't connect me to nature because my job is not in the woods or at the beach. It's in buildings, right? So I feel disconnected from nature. That's how I originally started.
I need a job on the beach.
So going into a business that has a dog, like, just has this different life energy. So I think if we connect to nature,
they're kind of just chill people.
And I think if we connect with nature more and also connecting our goals with looking up at the solar system and connecting it with planets and connecting it with something outside of ourselves.
Those are all attempts for us to connect to our higher self, our authentic self. So what I was going to say is, like, every time you do hobbies, motorcycle, jet skiing, snowmobiling, any of these hobbies, it's like we've actually allowed ourselves to be our authentic self. And those are the things. Yes, and play. And we're not created to just be these miserable human beings that drive back and forth to work every day just to pay the bills. And I feel like when we allow ourselves to do those things, to have hobbies, to play, it is connecting us to nature. It's connecting us. It's allowing our muse to play. It's allowing our inner self to play, our most authentic self. Because I think that's what he's talking about on Live Lives. It's the life that we're living, and then there's our true self, our true being. Our true being was not meant to work. Our true being was meant to have connection and to be curious and to find out who we truly are. And I think in that process, we give back. We give back because,
But maybe, and this is going to be the devil advocate side to that, if we think of how far we've come in human evolution, we are the dolphins of the human evolution. The reason why dolphins are so playful in the ocean is because they have figured out how to get food in such a short amount of time, and they work collectively together to get the food.
Yes.
That they have all of their other time to play.
Yes.
That is why dolphins are really playful, because they have figured out how to do the basic thing they need to do,
Yes.
which is eat.
Yes.
So humans have sort of done that. We have the grocery store.
But we've also allowed a lot of distractions
Yes.
to come into, and a lot of, social pressures, keeping up with the Joneses. There's another little
Saying, yep.
saying that keeping up with the Joneses are like a feeling inadequate. And a lot of times we feel inadequate, or we feel a sense of lack. And I feel like we feel a sense of lack because we don't take the time to find out what we truly want. What we truly want. We've been told, you got to go to college, get an education. If you're going to have a real job, you got to get a college degree. You got to have that piece of paper hanging on the wall. And if you're anybody, you got to be married. You got to be married, and you got to have family. Like, we've told this for generations and generations and generations. Yes, I understand it is to push the human race forward, evolution-wise, but that may not be right for everybody.
Right.
But we've been told all of these things, and we never ask. We never stop and ask, like, wait, did I really want to do that? And I mean, too late now. If you already had kids, too late now. You're in it for the next 50 years, however. But truly, we deny ourselves that. I think there's, I wrote down a couple of reasons why I think that we sacrifice our true potential. I think fear of judgment.
Mm-hmm.
I think shame. And you need to make a decision. And if you surrender, letting go of control. But
I think you said it earlier. We have so much more distraction now than we've ever had as a human race.
yeah,
And I think all of the time, if I was a teenager now, nothing would get accomplished because of social media. Because all my friends would be on it.
that's true.
That's the way I would communicate with everybody. I would not get anything done. We have such a level of distraction. So the other day, John was going to a Bruins game for work. And I'm like, I'm going to sit down. I made myself something to eat. And I was like, I'll sit down and watch television. I turned on the TV and the bar didn't go on with it. So there was no sound. And I was like, I could troubleshoot this, or I could just go read my book. So I went and read my book while I was eating, because there is so much resistance in technology. The other day I was trying to print. It took me 2 hours to print, and I needed to get John involved.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, but there's this, and maybe I said, I don't know how you would work in a computer-oriented environment where your whole job is the computer. When I must break the computer with my energy field, I must come in and go.
Well, see, there's a part of your authentic self that says, keep her away from technology.
Keep her away from technology. She needs to be out.
You too. Like, the TV, it's not that I can't figure it out, but so we have HBO and Max, and it hasn't updated on our TV in our room. And literally, since we've had the TV in there, it's been on like twice. But everybody was watching something, and I just wanted to finish the last 15 minutes of this show that I was watching. And I'm like, I'm going to do that in bed. Well, now it says you got to log in. And I'm like, I don't know what the login is. I don't even know how to do that. So kind of just, and he's like, well, you can YouTube it. I don't know what the password is. And I'm like, when you tell me to YouTube something, that's like nails on a chalkboard to me.
Is that like when you asked your parent to spell rhythm?
Yes.
So I distinctly remember my mother being in the living room, and I'm in the other room, and I'm trying to write rhythm. And I said, how do you spell rhythm? And she goes, look it up in the dictionary. And I come to her 5 minutes later and point to the dictionary and say the word's not in the dictionary. And she goes, of course it is. And I'm like, but I wouldn't know that because I don't know how to spell it. And she was like, never told me to look up a word spelling in the dictionary after that point.
God, I think you won that match.
I won because rhythm was not the way I was spelling it at all.
Right.
And so when I went to the dictionary under where rhythm should be,
yeah,
in a book, not the internet, the book, but
old school in it.
but that's like the trauma. I still have that whole thing in there.
Yes.
How do I spell it?
Yes.
Look it up.
So
look it up on YouTube. How do I do this? Look it up on YouTube.
Yeah, gosh, I have this. Would we? Oh, so here's where I wrote.
Next time, what's for dinner?
Yes,
Look it up on YouTube.
Yeah. I'm going to say that. What are you having for dinner?
Look it up on YouTube.
I know. Now I'm like, hey, if you don't let me know by a certain time if you're going to be home for dinner at a certain time, like I ain't cooking. Like, whew, man, I've saved a ton of money on grocery bills.
I actually think there is different seasons in life.
But that's me letting go too.
I'm so proud of you. Surrendering.
See?
I think there are different seasons in life, and there are different seasons where, you're not going to make home-cooked meals as much. I think of the summer, we are doing things. I buy groceries in the summer, and then I watch them turn into a science project, and then I throw them away, and I get angry. Just stop buying a week's worth of groceries. You're going to be out 4 nights a week anyways. So I think there are seasons, and I love this season for you that you're not going to make food. I love it.
I do too.
You have so much more free time.
Yes, and I have much more money to buy outfits.
Yes. And travel.
I mean, because it takes a lot of work and effort into it. And I'm like, I'm creating
just
some
the mental
amazing
gymnastics of making new and interesting things that you'll be in the mood for.
Yes. And to have it timed just right.
And it be healthy.
And I'm actually going to say, I'm sorry, I'm not performing tonight.
Look it up on YouTube.
Google it.
Google.
So, when we live based on people's expectations, societal agendas, or allow fear to dictate our lives, we suffocate our true potential. This author,
I'm sorry. Read that to me
Marina.
again. I was laughing still about the YouTube thing. YouTube dinner.
YouTube it. You probably could if you can figure it out. There's lots of, you could, your next level, what I'm going to say is your next level chef challenge starts now. Like, so you've got to watch the show, Next Level Chef. It gives me a lot
people crying, because I don't like people crying about food. Okay.
And the way you're sad to see people go, because these are all amazing people. So there's social media chefs, there's home cooks, and there's professional chefs. And so there's 3 chefs, and each one gets a group of 5. But like 15 come in. So all the home chefs, and you have to start at the basement level. And the basement level is like, the microwave doesn't work, all the pans are not balanced, the spatula's half burned, and like and you're very limited, and there's a drop that comes down, so there's a platform of all this food. Well, one of their first challenges was you had to do leftovers. You had to create an amazing meal out of leftovers from the fridge.
Fail. I would fail.
So, but watching some of these people like turn Spam into something, like I've never had Spam in my life, but I was like, wow, I actually want to try that. The way that he like pan-seared it and crisped it and made it all thin and put it on a salad. I was like, wow.
And to me, I was like, that is so much mental gymnastics.
So now in my family, I could say your Next Level Chef challenge starts now. I'm going to say that.
YouTube it.
YouTube it. So when we live based on people's expectations, societal agendas, or allow fear to dictate our lives, we suffocate our true potential. And our true potential, I think, allowing us to have hobbies, allowing us to cultivate friendships, things that don't...
So think of it like in a relationship, right? You have two spouses, and one of them wants to get a new hobby.
Wait, I have 2 spouses?
No, you are a spouse.
I might. I think everybody
Wait a minute.
I already think everybody needs a wife.
Is that maybe that's the answer. Or maybe 2 husbands.
Yes. Well, yes, I could, yes.
We all want a wife because we want someone to clean up and stuff and fold laundry.
And somebody to make the dinner, like make meals.
Like
I would love to be in my own home and just sit down at the dinner table and being like, I don't have to think. I could just show up. I show up in my slippers and my pajamas, and I just sit down and I stare out the window until somebody throws food on my face.
Yeah.
Time to eat. Like, oh my God.
I know. Isn't that funny that that's one of our fantasies?
I do. I love it.
So I have all these weird fantasies. We're like, I want someone to bring me food in my own house.
You see on TikTok and you see all these reels and you like, they're like dad's pancakes and dad's this and dad that. I'm like, oh. So maybe I do need 2 husbands.
Or a wife and a husband.
A wife and a husband. Yeah, well. A non-binary. I have a husband and a non-binary. That way they can go either way, right?
Well, it's they.
Right. Well, they can go either way.
They can make me meals. They can clean the bathroom. They
could be my romance partner.
No, they don't have genitalia. They're
I thought they might have both.
No, they have no they don't isn't that what it meant?
I don't know.
Don't make me look it up again. Okay,
anyway.
We'll go back to the phrase. We're digressing.
Wait.
Expectations. We're back to expectations.
Oh, I totally lost my thing of thought. Okay, so when I started out
no, go back to the expectations piece. Oh, so I was saying you have hobbies. So I was doing the scenario in which I said 2 spouses, which got us off. Okay, so you and your spouse What if your spouse is like, I have an unlived life? You
I'd
love
be like,
them.
what can we do?
Right, but what if they say,
Do you want to go to Aruba?
it doesn't include you? My
Oh.
unlived life is a hobby that I have to do by myself.
At this point in my life, I would say, okay. Okay. I've learned not to hold. I mean, would it hurt? Yeah, absolutely. Would I be sad? Depending, like, what does he's going to go find, like, you know, he wants, like, a menage a trois down in Baton Rouge.
No. Like, a hobby isn't sex. A hobby is like I think so. I'm thinking of so I've always loved motorcycles. I've loved speed. I've loved that. And when I was younger, I wanted to ride a motorcycle. I was saving money. I got my motorcycle license. I was saving money to buy a motorcycle. And then once I met my spouse, and he was so good at motorcycles. So I just grew up having zero interaction. And then I'm like, I'm going to ride a motorcycle. But he's been on dirt bikes and been flipping things. And, you know, building, everything's a ramp built. You know, like, and so he's really good on them. So then I relegate myself to relish myself. I relegate myself.
Is it spicy relish or sweet?
Sweet. I'm a sweet relish.
And spicy.
I relegate myself to the back because I trust him more on the motorcycle.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the things, he gets a motorcycle again, and there's the part of me that wants to be part of all the adventures. But I know he can't ride the way he wants to ride with me on the back. Because I'm not having a good time when he's riding like that. Right?
Slow down.
Well, no, it's just like you close your eyes. Like,
Yes.
I wanted to go this fast, and now that I'm going this fast with all the other cars, I don't want to go this fast.
Please get me there. Please get me there. Please get me there.
So,
15 more
and
minutes.
people are texting and watching YouTube videos. People are doing everything but driving in the car
Right.
now. It's not like, I remember the first time he took me so fast, and I was like, this is so exciting. I would never go this fast on my own. But I don't feel that way anymore. I feel like no one's paying attention. But there are days that I'm like, you should ride by yourself. And I know a part of him gets hurt for 1 second of like, oh, I wanted company. But what I'm trying to give him is the gift of, you can ride exactly the way you want. You can be there in 15 minutes and back if you want. Right? This gives you your time to do your hobby that you do enjoy with me.
Yeah.
But also by yourself, so you have a moment. Now, I also would like him to have a friend to do it with too, to experience, because like my friendship with you, my friendship with Carolyn, my friendship with, like, my friendships, I get a lot of benefit out of my friendships.
Absolutely.
And what we've learned is that men have less and less friends over time.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want my friend to go to, my husband to have a friend to go to a strip joint. That's not going to be fun for me at all.
Right.
But a friend for him to go to
That
on a
aligns
motorcycle
with your values.
Yes.
But with your meaning your family values.
Yes.
You two have made agreements
Yes.
that this is how we're going to live our life.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And your friendship isn't just like my friendships aren't a undermining of you in our relationship. Your friendships aren't an undermining of me and our relationship. They're a benefit.
I think that you should encourage your spouse, your partner, to go and do their own hobbies.
Yeah.
You know,
And like, hopefully you can be included too. Hopefully it's not something that is a wedge that this person is always doing without you. But just like he doesn't want to go to the museum with me, and I don't take offense to that, like he'll do it once in a while, but he can't do all day.
Right.
Like he will go to the Chihuly Art Special with me when they came to the Museum of Fine Arts, but he doesn't want to do that every weekend. So that's why, like when we went to Florida, I'm doing those things with you because you enjoy them with me.
Yes.
And so I think guys need that too.
But that creates harmony inside of you. And I don't think that they allow themselves that. Just like last weekend, and I was like, you should go. And then he got home and he's like, it's going to be too late. But I think he's going. I think he's spending the night. You guys could go up on Sunday. You could still go up, be there for a night, have a great dinner, and then you could go. And I don't know.
I know. I think work got in the way, but they're going to go tomorrow, and it's supposed to snow. They're going to have an amazing time
that's
to
awesome.
snowmobile in the snow.
That's awesome.
They're going to have so much fun.
That'll be fun. Yeah, I think they should. And it'd be, I think that you should encourage your partners to go on trips, go and do their hobbies.
Yeah. So when I brought that up because when we say that we have an unlived life, when you're in a relationship, it could be very threatening that your spouse says, hey, I have some unlived life, because the first thought is, it doesn't include me. I'm not enough. It throws all these other...
Well, that's exactly where I went. Like, what? Yeah. Menage a trois in Baton Rouge? Like, did I want to do that? Well,
yeah. And it's like, I just wanted to ride a motorcycle up the street. Oh, okay, totally do that. Go ahead, totally. I'm so sorry.
I just wanted to ride my bike to Hannaford's. Oh, you good? You good?
With the wind in my hair. With the wind in my hair.
My bad, boo. You do you.
And I know that that's where 90% of people's first thoughts are is, what do you mean my spouse has some unlived life that doesn't include me? It must include something bad. And so it feels threatening. So, but I think if you have the conversation about, and have the conversation with your spouse, what does your ideal day look like? And you can have 100 ideal days.
I think that's the perfect way to start finding out who your authentic self is asking yourself every morning, what does my perfect day look like? Even though, of course, it would be like Aruba and like you're in a, G-string sipping pina coladas or Mai Tais from, what's his name, Jimmy?
Bill
God.
From Takumi and Mai Tais.
I always say I want to call him Jimmy. I always still want to call him Jimmy.
I know. Stop.
It just
Bill.
rolls. Bill.
It's Bill.
Anyway, but I think that's a perfect way to start. Like, what does my perfect day look like? Okay, I have to work today, but how do I want my morning to go? Like, I think that would start adding joy in your steps.
What's really funny is yesterday was my perfect work day helping Jim pick out rugs and plan for this beautiful space, because part of my perfect day is making things more beautiful.
Yes.
To start with nothing and then create, and I'm using someone else's money. Great, not my money.
Yes.
And I keep saying you have to give me a budget.
I'm bummed I didn't get invited, but so how you show up has everything to do with your experience. And I think people don't think about that. We get
they think it happens to them.
But
life
we get
happens
so
to them.
focused on looking out and watching how we receive everybody else instead of how are we being received.
Are you a self-conscious person?
Yes and no. I mean, I'm going to do me. I mean, because I don't think I could have gone and done some of the stupid, silly stuff that I've done that we've recorded, or some of the things that I've worn, or if I weren't overcoming that. So yes, I used to be very self-conscious. I am becoming more and more, I'm going to do me. And I'm going to, like today, I even thought about, like, should I wear a black t-shirt with this instead of white? But I was really planning on leaving, anyway, a jean jacket with it to put the whole outfit together. But I literally don't care anymore. I am on an venture to say, how can I live my best life? And even if it's within these parameters, parameters being the state of New Hampshire, my current situation. My home,
in the state of New Hampshire.
Right? my home, my life, how I've set my life up thus far. How can I do that and enjoy it the most? A lot of times we get into self-sabotage and we never get to experience our authentic self because we get worry, we get fear, procrastination, impulse, and addiction all stand in the way. Do you ever watch?
Did you say distraction?
I didn't, but that's it. Procrastination, addiction, impulse, distraction. Yes.
If do you have that little app on your phone that tells you how many hours you were on your phone? Oh, turn that bad boy on.
Oh, see, I don't. I will go on it every once in a while. I don't scroll. I don't have the attention deficit. Like, I don't even go through. Like, so I might do it multiple times a day. I'll find out.
Okay, but what's frightening is
because my battery's still full at the end of the day.
Okay, it does every time you pick up to use Audible or something, so it is counting those. So if you're like, I listened to a book on tape for 4 hours this week, yeah, you can have 4 hours. But if you look at that and you said, wow, if I was paid $25 an hour for that time, how much money would I have made or lost by not doing that? So it's just a very interesting little experiment.
See, I've always been more of, I would rather play a sport than watch a sport. I've always been that way. I'd rather go do something than watch somebody else do it. I've always been that way.
So what's really interesting is my spouse watches motorcycle videos. He watches people taking apart carburetors and making more horsepower, and he's about enhancing. Yeah. Enhancing. There's no such thing as a stock motor. All stock motors suck. Right? That's my spouse's life philosophy. So he's always watching what other guys are doing. What are they doing over there? Are they taking the exhaust off?
That's what's going to be on his tombstone.
Right. So, but now I was like, he was watching the videos, and I was sitting next to them, and I really like this one group, Thrashing. They're just a super fun group, so even if you don't like motorcycles, you can watch their videos. But everybody else is like, I don't get it. These are kind of boring videos. And he says, everyone who does motorcycle videos are boring right now because no one can go anywhere because of the weather. And I was like, well, isn't this a perfect time to show what trip planning looks like? Because no one really understands, if you don't plan trips and you don't plan excursions, how much we think life just happens. So you see someone's beautiful picture and you're like, oh, that just happened. No, there was 7 hours or 12 hours or 15 hours of planning that goes on behind the scenes. And some people are not planners. They're just like, what are we doing this weekend? Let's go do it.
Yeah.
But I'm a planner. But I thought how cool it would be to plan a motorcycle trip and show what that looks like. Like, you have to pack for it. Like, it's a different entity.
Well, I also, one good point about that, like Chris says, when we go on vacation, he needs it like 3 days to just decompress and let it before he gets in vacation mode.
Yep.
And I'm like, but you don't really need to if you actually start ahead of time. So, and I think girls, women do it, have an easier time with it because we start planning our outfits, and I will try on some of my outfits. Like, I just got this beach cover up that I'm like, I am dying to wear. Yes, and I'll even do, like, I will even do some of the tanning lotion to like give myself some color if I need to. But you start planning on it and thinking about, oh my God, what's going to be nice to have those, sand in between my toes, and like, what's the water going to feel like? And I start thinking about, or I'll start looking at restaurants, things like that. And I'm like, start putting myself there before I'm there.
So you were actually tripping the dopamine anticipation cycle.
Yes. So even like getting on the airplane, like even picking out my airport outfit, because I'm like, it's going to be cold here when we leave. And so now I'm going to go, I want to be able to take layers off so I don't have to do a change. Like, what can I take away to be ready? So you already start prepping, and I'm like, that's the part of manifesting too, is you're seeing it, feeling it, experiencing it. And that's what's drawing it to you. So when you land, you're like, woohoo, let's go. I'm picking out like, ooh, what do I want to try?
It's almost like you're mentally primed.
Yes.
You're mentally primed, just like when Michael Jordan used to see himself throwing the free throws, then he physically practices throwing free throws. Then when he's already, it's like priming your system.
Well, in that same book, in that same person that talks about that, they're actually talking about how when you physically visualize yourself doing it, you actually do better. There's people, who was a guy that was in prison, and he was in prison for so many years, and he learned how to play golf in his head in prison. And he'd never played golf before, but he would visualize to pass the day, he'd play 18 holes every day in his mind. So when he got out, he actually was a decent golfer.
Wow.
Because he's mentally visualizing it. And so it's the same thing about him throwing the free throws. The more you practice visually, or the more that you embrace it in your mind, visualize it, feel it.
It almost feels like a fantasy, like you're daydreaming some fantasy.
Yes.
But if you can switch over to the fun part of yourself that does that, then the question of like, what is this unlived life? And it can be constantly changing. You could have lived your dreams. You could be in your dream job, but for 20 years, do you have anything else you want to do or try?
Right. Stop looking at burdens. Start looking like the things that are holding you back and weighing you down. So we watched Ted Lasso. If you've ever seen it,
I have never seen it.
Oh my God, it's just such an endearing. The character development is so good, and actually, 3 of the main characters, Ted and his boss and his assistant coach, they actually do musicals together. So
in real life,
yeah, they've actually done like these impromptu pop-up things. But we just watched a show the other night of his, and every choice is a chance. So he goes on and he said, it's our choices that show who we truly are. Far more than our abilities. Far more about our abilities or all the things that we've accomplished. And every choice is a chance. And I think about that every time. Like, we always have a chance. Every time we have an opportunity to do something new. We have an opportunity to treat somebody else new. Like, that's what you and I have been challenging. Hold the door open for somebody. Say thank you when you don't. Even say thank you. Have a great day to the lady at Home Goods who's going to snarl at you because you didn't sign up for their credit card.
Find a way.
I'm probably never going to let that one go.
I believe in compliments. I'm
Yes,
a person
yes.
who is susceptible to
Yes.
flattery on some level. And I'm also very suspicious of flattery on the other level. But I think finding something, a real reason, something honest and truthful. If you make a mental game of trying to find that once a day, you'll get a little bit better at it than you could do twice a day. There was this woman she works at the little place I always go to, and she just started wearing this beautiful red lipstick. And I was like, God, do I love that lipstick on you. It looks amazing. Like, I know I could never pull that lipstick off, but it looks amazing on her. Now, I didn't go in there for almost a month. She remembered who I was.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And I like going to the same restaurant places because I like to be treated. Do you have any food allergies?
Yes.
Have you been to a restaurant before? I hate that.
You want an intimate experience. You want
a
somebody
personalized
familiar.
experience. So I like that anyways. And now to go to some place that is this big chain that normally has do you have any food allergies? Do you need a gluten-free menu? Like all of that stuff too. It's so good to see you again.
Yes. Yes.
And I genuinely meant it, my compliment to her, and she now genuinely means it to me. And now that interaction at that place always goes a little bit smoother. I look forward to it.
Yes.
So if you can build so many of those into your day, your days just get a little bit brighter.
It is. You know, there's so many times that I've walked down the street and like it smells. I love like a good smell of perfume, and I do not hesitate to somebody on the street or somewhere if I see them. Oh my God, what your perfume smells lovely or beautiful or whatever. And I love your outfit today, or I love those shoes, or I always just something, and people you can actually just see them kind of perk up a little bit. And I'm like, man, it makes it's like it's the same principle or concept of giving a gift. You know, when you've nailed a gift to somebody, how excited you are. It gives on both ends of it. Mm-hmm. You are receiving of your own gift when you give it to. I know that sounds like. Bleh.
So I think that we think we have to receive to get a gift, but it's actually us giving.
Yes,
that is the gift.
I think that we're actually designed to feel those. You know, our dopamines and all of our feel-good hormones are we get to experience that too when we give.
Yeah, they say if you're feeling really, especially poor, that if you give something to somebody, that changes that feeling.
Yeah,
that you have enough.
Yes,
that you have enough. And I think for whatever reason, we all feel like we don't have enough.
Yes. So
I was thinking back to the hobbies, I was thinking of. I see it in my spouse. Motorcycle riding season, he is such more of a chipper person. Going out on a snowmobile for one day improved his mood for 4 days after that.
Yes.
So to have a hobby, have something, maybe it's painting at night, maybe it's writing your story.
It's not the act of, it's doing something that he loves. And that is because you've watched this man nourish his soul. That's exactly what it is. Because he's he's allowed himself to be, or he's tapped into his authentic self. And that's where that's what we're doing, encouraging people to live their authentic selves. It's not all about work. It's all. So what I talked about, fear of judgment, face your fears, what I wanted to say, realize that fear, shame, and failure are all outfits that we put on. Nobody can make us feel that way unless we allow it. And we can take it off any minute. We don't have to wear that. We don't have to wear that outfit. And fear is just a thought. Did you know that? Fear is a thought. It's an impulse that comes in. And we decide that we're going to feed that beast or we're going to starve that beast.
See, I think of fear as something a little differently because the nervous system is tied to it and it dumps adrenaline. It's like a chemical concoction as well. So, yes, fear can be paralyzed in my mind, but I also feel fear in my body. And when I think about the times I've overcome the fear in my body, it has been physically easier than overcoming the fear in my mind. It's almost like one.
Yes. Because
one turns into the adrenaline of doing the thing. And I can't remember if it's The Simpsons or South Park where the kid goes, we almost died. That adrenaline of like surviving something.
Yes.
I think
But
you
that's
can get
the thought.
hooked.
Yes, yes.
You can get hooked on that feeling in your body because it reminds you that you're alive. All of that energy that's buzzing, that's scared.
Yeah, even negative
alive.
energy is like, because when
So we can get addicted to drama as just as quickly as we can get addicted to that.
Yeah. I don't know if it was Joe Dispenza or Jordan Peterson was talking about how those live in our bodies. And if we are used to creating drama or living in drama, like say we grew up in a very
Traumatic
stressful household, we take that, unless we've healed part of that or healed that, we're going to take that into every interaction that we do in some form, because it's going to, when things are just copacetic or peaceful,
We feel uncomfortable.
well, our hormone levels have dropped. All those, we don't have that rush. So now you've got to trigger, you've got to start an argument, you got to do something so that adrenaline starts going again.
Yeah.
It's scientific.
Yeah.
Proven.
Ugly.
You make a decision.
Yeah, but I do think of that excitement in your body, that adrenaline, that we want to feel alive. We don't want to just drone throughout our day. And I think the screen time and the getting into the phone and all of that deadens us in some capacity to be the consumer instead of the creator.
Yes.
So
Be the creator.
back to our lunar cycle. So we have 4 weeks. We're in the middle. We're in the first quarter.
Of what cycle
Of
are we
the-
in right now?
We are in the first quarter of the moon cycle. So we are in waning.
Is it
gibbous.
waxing?
Yes, you're right. Waxing. Waxing is when the moon grows, and waning is when the moon is being hidden. So waxing gibbous is your trust and resilience. So whatever you're in at the moment, you're in the thick of it. Trust that all will be okay. Believe that you are resilient in yourself, and come back next Thursday.
Just 2 hours is just not enough time.
Not enough time. Have a great week, guys.
Have a great weekend, guys.
This is Lisa and Robin on the mic on WSMN 1590 AM 95.3 FM. You can always watch, stream, and listen. And if you miss an episode, go to Spotify or YouTube. Have a great week. We will see you next week.
WSMN 15.